and welcome to The Boy and the Bear. At the time of recording this episode, Celtic have just been knocked out of the Champions League on what might go down as the worst 180 minutes in the history of the competition. However, not to worry, both our Boy and the Bear have stretched those groins and are fit enough to join us. Straight to you, Paddy Boy.
Please don't ever talk to me and Scotty about stretching groins ever again. That's the weirdest analogy you've ever used.
Disturbing.
I think, Scott, do you want to sign the first ever truce on the Boy and the Bear and just skip compliments? Because I can't. I'm sure we've got nothing to say about either team just now.
Absolutely.
Rangers just got 10 million for a boy with one groin.
I don't care. Neither of us can laugh at each other. Neither of us can compliment each other. This is the season to back Hearts because Jesus Christ.
Maybe Tony Bloom was right. Yeah, I agree. No compliments this week. Just a terrible week all round. So.
Deal.
Yeah,
Move on.
Well, we're moving right on to what we've just watched, unfortunately. So, if you
great. Well, I don't actually know where to start. I think so. I thought after the first leg that you and I both went to last week, Steve, and I left that utterly embarrassed because I'd said to you, come and experience a European night at Parkhead. There's nothing like it. It's a qualifier. The fans step up. The club will step up. It'll be a really good experience. Fans stepped up, and then what the players served was dross. Like as bad a experience I've had at Celtic Park maybe ever. But everyone sort of went, okay, don't worry, we can't possibly play that bad again, and we've just done it. That honestly was one of the most shocking Celtic performances I think I've ever seen. It's also one of the most shocking games of football I've ever seen.
Bad.
I texted you boys at the end of 90 minutes just saying I'd have taken a Kairat winner there just to not have to watch another half hour. And honestly, that would have been less painful now than the penalty shootout. Yeah. If I had performed that badly in my job than anyone involved at Celtic in this tie, I'd have lost my job, and I mean that seriously. Rodgers said all week, no excuses. Said before the game, no excuses. So I'm not going to make excuses. That was just not good enough. The players weren't good enough. Rodgers so far away from good enough. Like that honestly, that whole tie, that two-legged tie is a sackable performance. I'm not calling for his head. I'm not saying Rodgers out or Rodgers go. I'm not reacting like that. But if he was to be sacked, I think it would be warranted off the back of that because that's shocking. And the board, I've been calling it all summer. I've been calling it from the start of this podcast when we started it 3 years ago. Lack of ambition, lack of investment. Looks like nobody really cared as much as the fans about that tie. And that's how I'm feeling. And in football or any walk of life, every once in a while you need to freshen things up. Celtic haven't done that. The key players are still Ange Postecoglou's key players. I think what you saw tonight was the end of a cycle of a great Celtic team. The core of the team, I think, needs wiped, refreshed. That felt like a moment. It felt like a tie. Every once in a while in football, you get these moments where you go, I think that's it now. I think we need to wipe the slate clean and go a different direction. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means restructure at the board level, like that'll ever happen. I don't know if it means a new manager. It certainly means new players coming in, which is happening this week, but it's too little too late. Anyway, how are you?
It probably means you're only going to win the league by 6 points. No, I was just the reason I was smiling through that was, do you remember when we were walking up the stairs at Celtic Park and I said that in our 25 years of friendship we've never been 10-0 together?
You're never coming back. I'm never taking you to a game.
Stevie's not allowed back in the East End of Glasgow ever again, is he?
Honestly, I watched the sunset the second half. The game was that bad. Honestly, the game was that bad. Oh Christ! But it's nice to see you smiling, Scotty. And yeah, Paddy Boy, I'm not obviously we're not going to finish there because we had quite a bit of time in a stadium to talk about during the first leg, and I don't think anything difference happened in the second leg. I think it's just been
it was worse. That was worse.
It's just been heightened what's happened. Obviously, there was chants from early in the second half about board out, and I'll happily admit.
We should say this is at the home leg.
Yeah, sorry, at the home leg. Yeah, so, but I'm sure they were chanting it tonight as well. We obviously had a chat, and it was probably the first time that I actually recognised how bare that Celtic team was. You were looking at it and you were just going,
It took
And
me to
that's-
actually take you to Celtic Park for you to finally cotton on.
But take the money out of it in terms of like everybody will say obviously Ida and Engels there's 20 million that's obviously been banned around the media, but take away the monetary point of it, like the actual quality of player that's been staring Celtic in the face for the last year just became very apparent, and the fact you didn't replace Kyogo or Kuhn, or even keeping Kuhn till the end of the window, which I know has been broadcast in media this week, are two of the biggest mistakes of probably years at Celtic, and it's just cost you between 20 and 40 million probably, because one of those players certainly does have the quality, regardless of whether you think best since Larsson, does have the quality to...
He was the best since Larsson. Like, he was...
to take that tie to Celtic, to take them to the group stages. But yeah, I mean, you're saying there that Rodgers, if he got sacked tonight or sacked this week, then
I wouldn't be complaining.
You wouldn't
honestly,
be complaining.
No.
It's not taking long for his interview to ring true, is it? So
I've not even seen his post match.
I mean, sorry, from the first leg when he said chance for sack the board usually means sack the manager.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm asking in a roundabout way, mate, is what order do you want those dominoes to fall?
Restructure of the club at the highest level would be my immediate priority. I would even take guaranteed board restructuring with a competent replacement over like winning a treble this season or something like that, honestly, just to give me some hope that people at Celtic feel the same way I do about the club, that there's a bit of ambition there. That won't happen. So Celtic's board aren't going to happen. So anything I say about the board is wishful thinking, and that's where the fans' frustration comes from. But Celtic had enough over these two ties to beat that team tonight. They put 10 men behind the ball. They wasted time. We did that against Atalanta, in one game. So, I'm not gonna criticise him for it. Rodgers tells the team how to play. They played terribly. Honestly, that's how angry I am tonight. I'm a big fan of Brendan Rodgers. I think he's been great since he came back. But this tie, it feels like a really nasty turning point. And if we lose at Ibrox on Sunday, honestly, it's going to be a competition to see who is the most shit.
That's kind of what I was getting on to, probably in a more elegant tone. But do you not think that's that? So obviously as a neutral, I'm sitting there, just when you're saying that, and I'm going, is that how bad things are? Like Celtic are this bad, and you're going to go to Ibrox, and if you lose, you're still going to be 3 points clear, 4, whatever it is, and you're just like, part of me doesn't even want to watch it, and that's really, I'm like, what's the point? Celtic are awful, Rangers are worse. When's Tony Bloom putting money into Hearts? That's where I am as a neutral now, or like
Tony
when are
Bloom
Aberdeen?
You're on about that's where I am
now.
When are Aberdeen gonna put back-to-back seasons together in terms of winning a trophy and then kicking on again? Or obviously, I've said on this podcast a few times, I stay in Leith, and it's been brilliant to watch Hibs in the local area and stuff and European football. But that looks like that's going to peter out, and even then they've gone from Europa League to the Conference League. Aberdeen are on the brink of, obviously it would take some result to get them through. You've got Rangers on the brink of dropping down a European tier. You've now got Celtic drop down a European tier. Dundee United are out. Like, it has been a shocking European campaign for Scottish teams, that every single one's either on the brink of going out or been knocked down a peg in European competition. And yeah, something's got to give.
Agree.
And that obviously that leads me straight on to you, Scotty. I know Rangers are playing Bruges tomorrow.
Yep.
And I think a lot of the news coverage has been taken off Rangers and what's just happened in the last hour.
Yep.
But we have to talk about the weekend, mate, and leading into this game. I mean, what would you take from the game tomorrow? A performance?
I think so. I think a good, solid performance, not being as open as we are. I don't think we're going to turn the tide. I don't think we've got enough going forward at all. We've not scored enough, but we've not created enough opportunities in these 8 or 9 games we've had under Martin to really think that we're going to cut Bruges open. Not a chance. We might get 1 or 2, but I think if we can see as a fan base there is actual progress with the performance, I think that goes a long way of stabilising, maybe calming things down right now, because everything, it's like a volcano, like ready to erupt, and it's maybe not Martin's fault, but there's like a part of it, an element of Martin, there's a part of the element of the frustration of the new board. and then the results, the performances. It's like, and I'm not buying into this excuse. Oh, we're turning a tanker, as he said there last week. Did you hear his interview?
No, that's Liam Scales.
No, that was it. Yeah, he said it was it the kit man
or somebody in the ground staff or somebody said, "Oh, it's turning a tanker, gaffer," or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, but you look at Motherwell, and they go through more of a squad transition every season, and they've just had a new manager, and they already look better coached.
There's a lot different playing for Motherwell than it is Rangers.
I know there's like expectation and pressure, right? That's completely different. But my point is, what I'm getting at is, it doesn't take long, or shouldn't take that long, to get your ideas or your identity to form, right? This guy's done it at the same time as Martin's been in the job. He's had you could argue, a bigger rebuild. He's had more players to move out. Just the nature of a lower Scottish football league team. They change players all the time, and he's got them well coached, well drilled. They're hard to play against. We are the opposite. We've had 9 weeks on the training ground, and we look worse than we did in the first couple of weeks. You look at some of our players. Oliver Antman looked brilliant on his debut. Terrible. Joe Rothwell looked excellent against Panathinaikos and hasn't looked like he's towing a caravan every time he plays football. A guy looks bust after 20 minutes. So I think that's where the frustration is. It's like we're seeing a regression than we've never really seen before. So I think I've got no hope. If I'm being truthful, I've got no hope that we're going to turn the tide. I know that sounds really negative, right? But I'm sitting here, I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to look at the things that I'm seeing with my eyes and what I'm listening to. And I don't believe in the manager. I don't believe that we have enough in us right now to turn this tie.
What have you made of his? You can call it honesty. You can play a bit of a tactical game with his interviews, Scotty, in terms of shining a spotlight on some of the players and I've had some talking points, to say the least.
Yeah, at first, right, the first one they did against Motherwell, right, you're like, oh, this is bold, this is new, this is quite brave, and you're thinking, okay, we're going to see a response, and we've not seen it. We've saw a response in one half against Pilsen, and that was it. The rest of the time, we turn up, we're still as slow as we have been. We're moving the ball, I would say, even slower than we have under previous managers, which I didn't think was possible. And now it's just like he's looking at other excuses rather than, I've not heard him once say, oh, I'll take the blame from, say, for example, against St Mirren at the weekend there. He didn't come out and say, oh, I played Asgard as if I was saying, I got that one wrong, that was on me, it didn't really work, didn't really help us get up the pitch. No, he just threw them under the bus, and I think continues to throw them under the bus. So it's an interesting strategy, I don't think it's going to pay off.
He jumped back on that bus and ran over Eagleman by himself.
Yeah. Well, I said to you boys at the time, that's another example of him. I think he's just throwing whatever he can to deflect from the fire that's at his door. He is getting a lot of hate, whether rightly or wrongly. Whether you can say, is it too early? Is it not? But I think there's a way to do things, there's a way to say things, there's a way to handle yourself, and he's media trained and he speaks very well to the media, but that felt like a cheap shot, and it's like, okay, you're hurt, you're annoyed at the player, but you've just cost Rangers an extra couple of mil, because now the team that knows he's interested in him knows that he doesn't want to play for us, so they're going to come in with a low ball offer. And we're kind of forced.
Well, you're saying that, Scotty, because I thought the same thing, mate. But as we're speaking tonight, his release clause has been activated.
Yeah, there's I smell something fishy.
Both Feyenoord and Lille, and that made me wonder if he already knew that at the time. So the player's obviously not wanting to come on because he doesn't want to get injured to stop his move.
It's fair dues, right?
It's quite a physical game, obviously.
Yeah, he's got
it's not fair dues. I don't. So it's a little bit of a difficult one, isn't it? Because you've obviously you're in a kind of a fishbowl in terms of what you can and can't say, regardless of whether you think it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
Did Eggman get paid by Rangers last week?
Yes.
Yeah. Get on the pitch and play football. Is Eggman injured? No. Is he going to pass his medical? Yes.
No, I totally get that. But at the same time,
it goes back to Pat's point earlier on. Like if that was any of us in our day-to-day working lives, which a lot of these Raging Celtic fans are, and they get paid and then they put that money into the football club, get on that football pitch, and I see absolutely nothing wrong with your manager coming out and saying he didn't want to play.
No,
I don't see anything wrong.
No, I get that. I just meant from like a business point of view. That's all I'm meaning from a strictly financial point of view, you take a couple of mil of a player when at this point in time, Rangers are at that point where we don't get a lot of value for a
The
player.
deal must have already been done, Scott.
It must have been, yeah.
But
Actually,
then
I think the same, Scotty, but it must have been.
But if that's the case, then right, here's the
They
thing.
don't put him on the bench.
Exactly. Don't
Yeah.
put if you know the deal is done. If you know he's already itching to go. This is where I've come to
Yeah.
in the last couple of days. If you know
Put a
that-
youngster on the bench.
yeah, play Josh Gentles, stick Finlay Curtis up front, do something. You know, like I understand there's this foray about hating Nigga Man, right? And I think his attitude's disgusting. Right? You're paid by the club. You need to do until you're no longer a player, right? But I
Are you
think
going to remember him now for his winning against Celtic or for not coming on in that game? You know,
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
How
It's-
to tarnish your reputation?
absolutely like, and he was beginning to be like the new, like fans' favorite. He was already considered like
That went well.
I know, right?
Doesn't really take much either, does it?
No, but I just think like you're right. He's tarnished his legacy, but I also think the manager's got to take a little bit of responsibility in a sense of if the club knew that he was already away, that he didn't want to be there. Well, why have we left it for so long? Why have we left the recruiting of the striker position to this late in the window? If you know that your first choice striker in Igaman is injured and then wants away, why are you not bringing somebody in the background so that you don't have to rely on him? And then it's Dessers, there's talk of him going away. I just think we've been really slow in the transfer from being really active at the beginning. We've been really slow, and now we've kind of forced to play a hand that we didn't want to play.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, lads, you might have seen me scrolling in the background there. I just wanted to check what Rodgers was saying in his presser after the game. Obviously, before the game, he said no excuses. He's come out and he said that the pitch was a real issue.
yeah. I mean, you get it right. The pitch is terrible, but you're not telling me that pitch isn't as bad or any worse than what you face at St Johnson.
The penalties summed it up, mate. The penalties were an absolute reflection of the game, and there was nothing wrong with that penalty spot because they managed to put balls in the corners and put it in the goal. And I mean, that boy was tried a Panenka, so it can't have been that bad.
No.
It was horrendous. And I said this, we texted each other obviously at full time. Every player who stepped up to take a penalty you thought was going to miss, missed. And the two that actually you thought were going to score, scored. And I think that's just an indictment.
Saw someone's comment on the Celtics Instagram post at halftime saying, I've never felt less confident with a player going through in a one-on-one with Maida again, in both legs.
Yeah,
Normally when a player goes through one-on-one like that, you assume he's going to score.
It's just panic.
The Maida of last season slots that away no problem.
Does he though?
Yeah, he was in a purple patch. At the time, I thought it was a proof that he was finally emerging as a player. Now it shows it was just a purple patch. He would have scored that last year.
Boys, we now found ourselves, obviously, and we're going to move on to it a little bit more in great detail in the Scottish picture as a whole. But Celtic and Rangers now both find themselves, or Rangers obviously got tomorrow's leg, but Rangers and Celtic both find themselves in a position where they're most likely to be playing European football at the second tier.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a week left of the transfer window. What are you expecting your clubs to do this week? Paddy Boy, I'm obviously going to start with you. Does this change the picture for Celtic? The only thing I thought as well before the podcast was in defence of the board, and it's a really poor defence, but I'm going to throw it at you anyway. I'm going to throw it. It's my job. It's my job. I'm sorry. It's my job. In defence of the board,
you can't defend them.
In defence of the board, right? Looking at it from a footballer's perspective, do you think some players were holding off joining Celtic to see if they got Champions League football?
No, actually I don't, because the players we've been linked with all summer are the players that are still, Balikishva, I don't know how to pronounce his name yet. The winger from Royal Antwerp is signing this week. That deal was done yesterday. We've been linked with him since before the transfer window opened. So where was the urgency to get the deal over the line? He'll be kicking himself now. In which case, we should have been identifying players at the start of the window and selling the club to them to get them in, to improve us because that was such a winnable tie. It's about the most winnable draw we could have possibly got. I hate to keep harping on about this same point, but for as long as we've been doing this podcast, I've been saying to you, we don't have any sense of forward planning. The players Ange brought in were clearly players that he'd identified himself, and they came in and made the team better. I don't think Rodgers has done that. I don't think that the board clearly haven't done that, because our transfer windows have been a disaster.
So Pat, there's another question for you then, right? Because you're saying that Because I remember this was cast at Rodgers after he first left, and I may be in a bit of anger at it when it was cast against him, that Rodgers inherited a good team and he's a good coach, but he didn't actually bring in the players that made that team as successful as they were. And this exact same thing has been cast against him again. So, my question on that front is, does Rodgers not have to take a lot of the blame? Because the board seemed to be getting it right under Postecoglou.
No, I think Postecoglou got it right for the board, and the board took credit for it. Bear in mind, at the same time, when Postecoglou came in, Celtic hired Dominic Mackay as a new chief executive. He apparently tried to change things, and then he resigned a month later, and then Peter Lawwell came back in. So I think the board got away with one when Ange identified players from the J League that he'd worked with. And you look at our record since Rodgers came in, it's been really, really poor. This summer, you could say that Tierney is an upgrade on Greg Taylor, but on his performances this season, I don't see it yet, really.
And Greg Taylor could play 90 minutes.
Well, yeah, and Nygren looks as if he, is a decent signing. Everyone else was nowhere to be seen tonight.
Okay, so what other players have you been linked with that you see actually happening now?
Well, that's exactly it. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Apparently, there's a left back called Sriracha coming in from Boca Juniors. So it looks as if that'll be a decent signing. Save Scales having to go out to left back again. Something. When you're needing a goal in extra time in a European tie, do you want Liam Scales, who's already played the entire 90 minutes, balling up and down the wing? No, you don't. And Liam Scales wasn't nowhere near our worst player tonight, but it just shows you that's the levels where we're at. The question you asked a while ago, I think, was something like, does this change the board's plans of the regarding the transfer window now, or how does it? Yes. Obviously, they took a gamble. Like, people say that the board have been risk averse. This was actually the most risky tactic they could have gone for, is not strengthen before the playoff, and now you make yourself a less attractive proposition. We used to have debates on this pod in the seasons gone by saying, what's the most exciting project? And the answer was always Celtic, because we have the guaranteed Champions League football, and now we don't. And you apply that to all the clubs across Europe who are qualifying for the Champions League just now. We've just gambled ourselves out of a market
and damaged our core efficiency further.
Damaged the core, yeah. It's a shocker.
Can I just jump in as well? I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think you could have asked for an easier opponent to get into the Champions League. That was like, you look at who we've got to face. Quarter-finalists from the Champions League last year. That's an unbelievable hard tie, right?
That's because you finished second.
But it doesn't matter. Like, what I'm meaning is, like,
you're beating a fair decent teams.
But I understand. But what I'm meaning is, like, look at the route, right? Look at we've got somebody from the quarterfinal. Arguably, they should have already been automatically in anyway, right? But you couldn't have asked for an easier tie or an easier opponent.
I already said that. I said it was a shoe-in. It was a gimme. Rodgers said no excuses. We went out there and we've lost on penalties. And
now you're blaming the pitch.
Heads should roll at the club. Whoever's in charge of recruitment should be gone tomorrow, because look what it's got us. Shocking.
Do you want Dan Purdy?
I think everyone except Dan Purdy.
Do you see it affecting the domestic season at all, boys? I was going to stay with you on that one.
Did you say, do you think it affects it?
Do you think it affects the domestic season in terms of how far Celtic are ahead of Rangers, or do you foresee any changes in terms of, everybody thinks right now Celtic are going to win the league? Do you still foresee that with no real issues?
Yeah, because the competition isn't there, and Celtic domestically have been okay so far this season. But it does make the season as a whole less exciting. Of course it does. I've said for a while, and I think I said to you on the first episode of this season, boys, that I had a feeling we weren't going to make Champions League this year because of the mood around the club and the lack of activity, and maybe a run in the Europa League would be better for us, more exciting. We'll see if that transpires, but now I'm less convinced that we're going to get the players that are going to improve the team anyway. It's hard to get up for the rest of the domestic season, but I'm still really raw and upset from that result tonight. So ask me again after what will be a dismal
after Sunday
derby on Sunday. Yeah, it's now usually with these games, one of the teams is doing all right. This is the first time in a long time I think both teams have been brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, Scotty, Rangers are going to have to click. How many opportunities the Rangers need to go, right, let's just get this in order? Because we've been saying it for a few years on this podcast, in our circles, with guests on the podcast who support other clubs who have said the same thing. This Celtic team, yes, they did okay in Champions League last year. They are not great. They're not anywhere near the Celtic teams that have won trebles before and league titles before. And
you're right.
When are you boys going to pull it together, mate? And what do you see Martin coming out of this? Like, what? Surely you can't sack him after the Old Firm game. No, surely he's got to be given a season.
I 100% get what you're saying. He needs to be given a season to turn it around. But I've said this to you boys at the start. Rangers fans, there's the argument, gave Steven Gerrard time. That's true. But we saw incremental improvements each week.
I don't think you did. I don't think you did. I was thinking about this because you said this other week. I don't think you did. I remember how toxic it got for Steven Gerrard at Rangers. His name saved him because it wasn't incremental improvements.
But I'm talking about in the beginning. I'm meaning right in the beginning. I'm not talking about the middle.
If his name wasn't Steven Gerrard, there was a good chance he was getting sacked.
That second season, if his name wasn't Gerrard, he probably would have walked, right? But you look at I'm talking about the first season. I was meaning like that win against Ufa, the determination, the doggedness to get that over the line. Hadn't been in Europe. That win against Celtic at Celtic Park, that was a dogged 2-1, right?
You won the league that day, did you not?
Doesn't matter, Pat. You just shut up and cry about Karat, all right? All right.
So you dangled the carrot in front of me there.
But my point is, right, you can see things with the attitude, the application. It wasn't great sometimes, but there was signs that his team were going to be no nonsense and they're going to be quite hard to beat. And to be honest, we hardly got turned over. There wasn't. I can't remember us getting absolutely battered during his tenure. Like I'm talking like a 4-5-0 scoreline. Do you mean? Whereas every time I watch Martin's team, I just feel like it reminds me of Warburton. Such a high line, pressing, just so exposed at the back. And that's what concerns me going into Sunday. That's why I keep saying to you boys, like, I know that Celtic are terrible, and they are terrible. They're absolutely atrocious to watch. I watched that tonight.
Not domestic.
No, but
domestically.
Yeah, but
it's almost autopilot domestically, though, isn't it? You turn up in Livingston, go, we're never beating Celtic today. Oh well, Celtic win 3-0 out getting their second gear. It's just.
I just mean, like, if we actually had something, like you said, if we had something about us, it would be totally different. And I just think, I don't know when it's going to click. And I know you're saying you can't keep sacking managers, but we need to find something that can bring us the domestic success that we need. We've spent a lot of money this season. We've brought in a lot of money. We've brought in 20 million for 4 players. I think I've been talking about that trading model for years, and it's finally starting to kick into gear, which is good, right? So there's money there. I think there's new investment. Like, go and spend and get us a few more players in key areas like the defence. We need an experienced left back, an experienced no-nonsense left side centre-half. And Scott, you need 2 strikers.
When Ange first came in at Celtic, I think we were 3rd or 4th until about October.
Yeah.
But there wasn't the same pressure from... No. There was no talk of Ange
but you
getting
guys
sacked.
had won.
But can I just say...
No, but let me finish the point. There was no talk of Ange getting sacked. There was no booing at half-time or full-time, because I think you could clearly see what he was trying to do, and you could see that it was nearly there. Like the fact that we were playing faster, the fact that we're getting out wide and driving into the penalty box. Whereas with Russell Martin, he says he's got a philosophy, but I can't see what it is. And you can talk about a philosophy for his, till the cows come home, but I can't see it. I don't know what this grand plan that he's thinking of is or what it looks like.
Well, according to Kevin Fellow, when he was appointed, it was a rigorous process that him and Patrick Stewart, the CEO, went through to find Russell Martin. And I said to you boys at the time, I was not...
a rigorous process.
Yeah. A wee Rod shirt into the bag kind of thing, right? It's only one name. Okay. Right? But, I'm looking at it, and I was not on board with his... At the beginning, I didn't want him in the beginning, but he arrived. Need to get behind him. Need to back him, right? But I was prepared to give him the time. But I just find it, like you said, it's so hard to watch this Rangers team right now. There's nothing to cling on to. There's not one passage of play. There's not one fair enough if it wasn't quite clicking in an offensive side of things, but you could see there was an aggression to get the ball back, to press really high, really aggressively, win the ball back quicker than we lost it. Do you know what I mean? You could be calm and you could be saying, right, that's fine. This is a slow process. It's going to take time. There's none of that. We look clueless on both sides of the park, and that's what's terrifying, I think, and that's what makes me very nervous for the rest of the season. I think I don't want Champions League, if I'm being honest, because we're just going to get turned over at every point.
Same, mate. It's overrated.
No, from a financial point of view, yeah, it's great. But see, from a from a ridicule point of view, watch your team get absolutely.
That's a sad state of affairs, Scott. You don't want to qualify for the Europeans premium competition because you're scared you get beat.
Well, no, it's not just getting beat; it's getting absolutely.
I know
it's a problem. I don't want to be. I want to the Champions. I want to watch my team do well. But our European record, our European level that we've had, this fear that Ibrox has had in Europe, teams don't like coming. That's been eroded already. We've been terrible.
Nah,
it has.
I know you've had a tough time, mate.
No,
right?
no,
it's two good teams. I can need to stop defending Rangers, man. But
no, you've defending Rangers in the Celtic board. Like, have a word for yourself.
No, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Right, we beat two good teams, but we limped across the line against one. No, Pilsen aren't a good team. Pilsen aren't a good European team. Panathinaikos, okay,
Panathinaikos,
good team.
It's an amazing team. Carrot Almighty.
I know, right? But then we get to Bruges and we get turned over in 20 minutes, right? Beforehand, we've gone up against Dortmund, these kind of teams, and we've been so in their face, so dominant, and they've found it really challenging. There was none of that last week against Bruges, and that's what terrifies me. In Europe, this European approach that we have, it's been labelled that we bring it into domestic form, has now been eroded because we've got a manager that is out of his depth. I'm sorry, I know it's 8 weeks in it, but I just feel like he's thrown players on the bus. We mentioned it earlier on. He's not taking any responsibility for anything that he's done, like the Asgard situation at false nine. The players we've identified are all championship players, bar Ant-Man.
I know, but again, I know, but you say the championship players quite a lot, Scotty. Like, Celtic spent $9 million on Adamida. It's a championship player. Did you get Matt O'Reilly from the championship, Pat? I think you did. League One championship.
League One, was it not? No, I'm not saying there's not quality, Stephen. I'm not saying there's not quality there at all, because there is. We got Bassey, we got Aribo, right? Yeah. There is quality there. There is bargains in Celtic. Matt O'Reilly, right?
Would you have rather had Lennon Miller and Kieran Bowie?
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. And the thing that really annoys me, is I was listening to Open Goal a few weeks ago. It was when they had Kevin Thompson on, and he was saying Josh Mulligan had all but signed. Like, everything was good to go for that deal to go to Rangers. And then the new board comes in, Kevin Thewell, Dan Purdy, and they bin it because they want to transition back to this English market. Now, for 4 years prior to Niels Coppin coming in, that's the market that we shopped in, and it had more losses than successes. But then he comes in, and I would say our transfer policy changed, and it got better because we signed Yefty for $500,000, make £6 million profit on him. You take Iggerman, you spend $2 million on him, you made £10.5 million, right? Are you telling me Joe Rothwell is worth them? No. You know, I'm saying, like, there's those players in the Championship that we're just not getting value from, because it's an overinflated market. You're getting bang average players that don't have the mentality to, and I think this is what the problem is.
Not winning every week.
Yeah, it's the mentality. Oh, it's fine to win one time. Like Robin Proper, decent player in Holland, but for a mid-level team, came here and instantly struggled because he could not get into that habit of, I draw it as a loss.
Yeah. See on the,
that's my point. Sorry.
No apologies needed. See on the Lennon Miller case, so if you're looking at him as a kind of solitary case, would you want to join Celtic or Rangers?
No, you wouldn't.
Or would you want to just go and ply your trade in Italy and do really well there, because you're more guaranteed now to be getting your next move is going to be a top kind of half English team, where you're not guaranteed that playing for Celtic and Rangers anymore. I mean, I know I jib at you, Pat. Let me finish, mate. No, let me finish. I know you jib at me, but Kyogo was a brilliant player for Celtic. Really, really good player for Celtic. I know. I make light of that sometimes. He's now playing for Birmingham, mate.
Yeah, but that's later in his career. I think Lennon Miller was there on a plate for Celtic to sign, apparently for months, and we chose not to inexplicably. I don't understand it.
Just to finish, I think if there was an intent, say if Rangers or Celtic did just go and say, right, Hibs, say 3 million for Kieran Billy. I'm not saying they would accept that, but say they just said, we're tabling a bid of 3 million. For Lennon Miller, it was 5 million, say, right? And they didn't get them. Fans then can't really grumble at the board for not trying to pursue the Scottish talents, right? That's then up to the player and the agent and the club. But at least there's that intent to say, do you know what? There is talent in this league. There is talent at home. Let's get the best talent in Rangers and Celtic, and let's actually give them a platform at the highest level. Because let's be honest, it is the highest level in this country. It's European football. It's competing. The pressure is enormous. But you're right. Why would you want to go? Both clubs are a bit of a mess right now. So, anyway.
No, listen. I think the evidence is in our face this season with Rangers. But just to finish off the pod, lads, obviously Rangers Celtic on Sunday. Predictions, and has the Old Firm actually come at a good time for both clubs?
Glasgow Derby. These games never come at a good time, really. It's certainly not come at a good time for Celtic off the back of that journey to get to Kazakhstan and back. So it's hard to pick a winner with this one. Both teams are in a really bad way at the minute. If you're going off domestic form, it looks like it should be Celtic. If Ibrox turns hostile, I'd fancy Celtic to get over the line, but I've just watched one of the worst Celtic performances I've ever seen. It's hard for me to go with any optimism.
Scotty?
For me, I struggle with this one. I think I want to say Rangers victory, absolutely, but I just can't see anything from it. I think we're absolutely horrendous to watch. With nothing going forward. We're all over the shop. And I just think Celtic, despite having travelled from Kazakhstan, will feel like we are there for the taking. And that's what really annoys me, because it's like we should be having that mentality. Like they've just flown, 3,000 miles or 7,000, whatever it is. I'm not sure.
It starts with the fans. Back your club.
No, I get it. But I just can't see this guy changing his style to really go at Celtic. They'll be leggy, they'll be tired. They just played 120 minutes. Right, go after them. So I'm going to say 1-1.
1-1. Paddy boy, give me a score.
1-1.
Excellent.
Go with you.
I think
6-0 Celtic.
No. I think Rangers will win. I think that's a very long journey.
Oh, you always think Rangers will win, though, to be fair.
No, it doesn't.
Well, that was right last season.
Back them for the league,
He's a hard.
Do you know what? It's more hope that Rangers win, because if Rangers don't win the league, I cannot believe we're saying this, but the league's
no,
done. If Celtic beat Rangers, the league's done. Like we may as well
we know you always hope Rangers win. Can I wrap up how I feel with a comment I've just seen coming through from a Celtic fan, and I couldn't have put it better myself.
Certainly.
It's, what is the point in the Champions League money if you don't spend it?
You make people who run the club richer.
There's the problem.
Yeah. That's what happens when you make football a business, mate. That's just, yeah. Well, you've been listening to a very raw episode of The Boy and the Bear. I think it's fair to say. You can follow us on social media. We're on all channels: TikTok, Instagram, etc. at The Boy Bear Pod. And this podcast will also be put on our YouTube channel, which is under the same handle. And you can also email us any questions or complaints or any comments similar to like Pat's read out. We'll read them out on the next podcast and start up a bit more debate. Until Sunday, boys, pleasure, and I'll speak to you both soon.
I mean, I don't feel like saying it this week, but hail.
Follow to the job centre. See you on Sunday, boys.
For the El Sacico.
Great success. See you, boys.